Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. So today we have the newly released Master Mold. And Master Mold is a 2-cost, 2-power card that on reveal add 2 sentinels into your opponent's hand. So this is going to be kind of useful for a few reasons. These sentinels, when they're played from the opponent's hand, they create a copy and return to the hand. So your opponent is going to permanently have those extra 2 cards unless they have discard, unless they have some way to mitigate those effects. They're always going to have those 2 cards clogging up their hand. Now, they can play those 2-cost resources for 3 power each. If they have a Quinjet, they can spread that power across the board, and they get some decent value. But where this can really start shining is in a couple of different builds. Ronan, using Ronan with Master Mold, you're going to be guaranteeing that you're going to get the 4 extra power on your Ronan. I don't know if this is enough to justify just throwing Ronan into any Master Mold deck, but it is a decent one. And then with a bounce style component, you're sending them so much junk and so much disruption and so much just bad things. They're not able to pull their key resources as efficiently as they would otherwise. And you may identify the shell of this as one that Jeff has been running and popularizing recently. And I think this is a perfect fit for Master Mold. I took out Chavez, which was in there for a consistency driver. But Master Mold, I think, is one of those extra kind of contingency layers that also adds in that consistency piece. And so we no longer get to play Chavez or guarantee Chavez on the last turn. We can play our disruption tools. We can bounce their cards. And a lot of times it's going to put the opponent in a bad enough positioning that they're just not able to do anything. And so especially with Thanos, if you can get these sentinels into their hand before their stones reveal and they don't have space for their stones to draw anymore, all of a sudden, not only are you blocking that 1 next turn draw, but you're also blocking 2, 3, maybe 4 draws, depending on what kind of stones they played. But you're potentially blocking 1, maybe 2 extra draws from the stones, maybe 3 if they played Mind Stone as well, from the stones, and making sure that they can't get those additional resources that help drive that consistency. And so overall, the list has been phenomenal. I have a couple of other versions, and I think Master Mold will be one that can slot in pretty easily and is incredibly fun to play. He's not going to be like an all-in like a Thanos or a Galactus, but he is one that can slot in. He's really low curve, so Cerebro 2, you can slot him in if you just want to add disruption to the opponent. You can slot him into that 2-cost slot a lot of ways, but you want to make sure you have ways to utilize him. So just having Hawk, you might not cap out your opponent's hand, so it might not actually add anything to Hawk in a lot of games. But overall, the card has been phenomenal. And with the brief deck explanation out of the way, before we jump over into any games, I want to introduce today's video sponsor. When faced with a problematic meta, Thanos, continually coming up with new decks and ways to counter what we're seeing requires me to always think critically and attack the problem from the outside in. These are skills that I didn't always have, but rather ones that were learned. Brilliant has helped me to continue to work on these skills in fun and easy ways. Brilliant.org has been the best way for me to continue interactively learning math and computer science. And they have thousands of lessons from foundational and advanced math to logic, solving equations, and scientific thinking. This month I've been focusing on the solving equations course. I have found that most games in Marvel Snap are winnable. You just have to solve the puzzle or equation of how to best achieve that result. The solving equation lessons have been helping me to challenge my way of thinking to always find a way to solve the problem at hand. The lessons on Brilliant teach me how to think critically to solve complex issues, not just in Snap, but in every part of my life. To try everything that Brilliant has to offer, free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/TLSG or click the link in the description. The first 200 people will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. All right, so first up we have Soulless Angel, who is running a Thanos list. We have Bast in our opening hand, as well as our Hawk, our Mysterio. Phenomenal value that we're able to add in. Next turn, we will probably lean towards doing the Iceman, just to add some disruption onto the opponent. The Reality Stone changes the left lane into the Onslaught Citadel. We could pretty easily swing that one with our Hawk, I imagine. We could do Mysterio, but I think Iceman and that little bit of disruption might be a little bit better for us, depending on what kind of draw they have. They play a Sunspot and Soak. And so I'm guessing, the Subterranean is really great for us, not only for our Hawk, but also just against Thanos in general. They're wanting to draw a lot of cards. They're wanting to rotate those cards. And so I always like to snap into a Subterranean against Thanos. just because it makes all of their consistency drivers less consistent. And so they do play one card over here. It could be the Lockjaw. No, it's the Time Stone. So they could come down with a turn for... Oof. They could come down with a turn for Leech, which would feel pretty bad. They do also run Shang-Chi, so if we do Hawk into the left lane, that's very susceptible to being countered. But we also have, I guess, our monster. We have to do an early Hawk. They do play the Leech. We have the small 59 power Hawk. It is on the board. We can no longer pick up our cards with Beast, unfortunately. We also took out the consistency driver of Chavez for the last turn play. So we're going to have to rely on being able to hopefully outpower what they have. Hopefully they're sitting on a handful of rocks and they don't draw into their Shang-Chi. They don't draw into those big pieces. But we don't know. I'm going to do Demon into mid. If this is the Shang-Chi, I think we probably just tuck tail and run. The Arrow. Okay, so the Arrow pulls our Demon over. If they Shang-Chi now, it's still a decent amount of power. We can get Master Mold and Beast in the action, neither of which are fantastic. But they're all small cards that if they're sitting on a handful of stones... Now, if Subterranean was not here, I wouldn't stay for this game. I would feel too worried about what they have. But with how many interruption they had, I think it's worth it to stay and see how it plays out. We do get the one win. We don't get the Master Mold usage. He has a fantastic animation, so in the next one, once we play him, I promise you guys, you will get to see the animation he has. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Malazan. The first location is the Sanctum Sanctorum, so we don't have any way to compete for that location. We do have our Korg to add some disruption. We have Iceman to disrupt their curve or their play line. We also have Bast in the opening hand. We're not going to play that immediately. I would rather get our Korg, our Iceman, our Beast onto the board first. And so, since we have Beast and Bishop, I'm going to play Bast. It allows us to bounce it back into our hand on turn 4, and we'll have Bishop start off at 3, which is a lot of power that he's able to start with. That's essentially it's 2 extra cards that you don't have to play now. Same thing whenever it hits Mysterio or Angela, it just starts much higher. So we're going to do Bishop. Next turn we can Beast bounce these back in. We're going to be able to continue to play cards. They're running a Helicarrier discard list, which is interesting. Not necessarily something that's always consistent. They could Ghost Rider resummon it. And it might do pretty decently. I don't know. So let's just do Beast here. Mysterio will be able to play 2 cards. We could Mysterio and then have the real one here. That way it doesn't completely clog this lane. But with having so few cards already, I don't think that's necessarily the play. So a Ghost Rider here would be pretty big. There would be a lot of power in this right lane. And then they also added in those resources into their hand. So it's going to be hard to overcome that much power, I think. We have Angela. We can then buff that up with, ooh, we get our Hawk, which is great. Let's do the Angela. Let's do the Korg, the Iceman, and then I'm going to Bast. We're going to Bast. We can then on the last turn do our Mysterio and our Hawk. Actually, yeah, that's a net positive too. It's not great, but it's a net positive nonetheless. The Professor X lock is interesting. I think we overcome the 3 power here. The Professor X lock, yep, not exactly what they were looking for, I don't think. We're going to be able to overcome we're going to be able to overcome the 3 power here. Unless they have, even if they have Mr. Fantastic, Spectrum, that's not going to push enough over here for them to be able to swing it. They do keep, we keep initiative, so a Shang-Chi would definitely hurt us. But it's going to be our best play. I don't think we play without Shang-Chi in mind here. So they do stick it out. They use a Devil Dino of their own. They win this lane by 4. We win ours by a little bit more. And so we are able to hold down the win. That one was close. That one was very close. But we will take the win where we can. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Rai. And Rai is running a Thanos list. We do like to have initiative going into turn 2. Unfortunately, we have the hood and not one of the other bigger, powerful plays, but we can still drop mold on 2. His animation, ideally, we're going to cap him out to 7, because if they play enough cards, we at least get one sentinel in their hand and make it harder for them to draw the resources they want. If we had initiative, we could actually block the stones with the Master Mold, which is always really fun to be able to do. But I think we drop the Master Mold. That's going to make their hand a little bit less consistent. They do a Sunspot, so they actually don't get any draws this next turn. They don't get any draws from the Mind Stone. They're soaking with Sunspot, but we do put them in a rather tough spot. Reality Stone gets destroyed. Our Hawk gets destroyed from Sokovia, which is awful. It's terrible for us. Because their hand is going to be really big, really clogged. Oh, we would have gotten so much value from it. Let's go ahead and play the Black Widow. I'm going to play the Demon as well. We're going to make sure they don't draw this turn either. And hopefully now that we don't have our Hawk, we don't have our high roll. So Bishop may have been the play. That's going to be our next potentially high power output. I'm hoping that maybe we can just frustrate them enough that that they don't have a good powerful play. So they do have the Space Stone. They have 7 cards. They actually can't hold the Widow's Bite. Oof, that's tough. I'm gonna Bishop this turn. We should have Bishoped last turn. Unfortunately, we did not. Next turn we can go with a Beast. Maybe we go with a Falcon and then a Beast. So they are playing the Sentinels. They're getting value out of the Sentinels we gave them, but it's also clogging their hand. So the 3/6/9 power that they now have on the board because of our Master Mold. So also important to know like how much you can add to the board whenever you send that junk their way. I think we do Beast in the left lane, and then I'm gonna do Angela as well. We'll see what they play. The Leech comes down, but we've gotten rid of just about everything in our hands, so the Leech is really not too impactful besides the Falcon. And so we're pulling everything back in. We don't have a great amount of power we can throw onto the board on this last turn, but we can flood a few cards though. We can do that. We're gonna play, I think it's 4 cards out onto the board. The -2 from the Hood gets offset by the Angela, so it's a net of 0. They won't be able to arrow us into Fisk Tower. Our Bishop comes up over this lane, so okay, the arrow comes down, but we should offset the Eternity range. We should win that one. The amount of cards we play should allow our Bishop to get up above their 6 power Leech. So the Disruption, even though it added power onto the board, I think it made their play line clunky enough that they weren't quite able to make their play happen that they needed to make happen. And so we will gladly take the semi-clunky win versus the Thanos. The Master Mold for me has felt the best into Thanos. If you can get the Sentinels in their hand early, it makes it so difficult for them to get their consistency drivers. If they're needing to top deck Lockjaw, they can no longer do that as easily. They can't use the stones to pull Lockjaw out of their deck. And just a couple of those consistency factors that it disrupts seems to keep it a little bit more in check. Let's go ahead and take the win. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Andival, and they're not running a Thanos list. So Master Mold might not actually help us with our Hawk so much as just disrupting. It's wicked. We're gonna be able to Master Mold. They'll be able to play the Sentinels, send them back our way, and it's just gonna be a Sentinel off because of Machine World. Like, it's the true Machine World coming in. We do have our Beast, so let's do Master Mold. We will Beast it back into our hand next turn. We'll probably play Demon and then Beast and just make their hand incredibly clunky. So they played Mysterio. They now have 6 cards. It's not perfect. It's not capped out. They're still going to draw here, but where it becomes an issue, ooh, and then the Vibranium Mines is great into our Hawk as well. So let's do our Demon. We're going to bounce it back into our hand. These are going to be free. We're not going to draw this turn, unfortunately. This is going to be free, 1 cost and free, that we can throw back onto the board where we need to, and we can position it where we want. We can make sure we lose initiative against like tech decks like this, and the Sentinels, if they end up playing them in Machine World, will come our way. We don't. Whoa, it's a Patriot list instead. I was thinking it was a Sarah tech deck, but it's a Patriot list. Interesting. So how do we want to play into that? I think we need to play our Bishop. Play our Bishop into the Vibranium Mines. I don't think they play... We don't have initiative here, so I don't think they play enough for us to slot in any cards with Master Mold. I don't think. we don't know that. We don't know that for sure. Let's do the Master Mold. Let's do our Hood again. And we're going to hold Demon for now. We're going to start pushing up our Bishop. Our Hawk should be pretty big value. Their Nidavellir location is going to be pretty big depending on where the real Mysterio comes up at. We do get one Sentinel back into their hands. So they now have 3 Sentinels that they're having to deal with and juggle around with. So it's every little bit of disruption that you can send their way is decent value added. They send Hood our way, so they have 1 Demon. Do we replay the Hood? I think we're gonna do a Black Widow over here. Black Widow, this is 1 cost, or this is free, this is 1 cost. The Demon that we get is gonna be 1 cost as well. And so then we can kind of pick where we want to play. If they play over into Vibranium Mines, our Hawk is gonna be very, very big as well. So the Bishop comes down a bit. Oh no, the Bishop is, no, that's theirs. I don't know what kind of deck they're running. It looks like a mix between a Sarah Tech deck and Bishop is so interesting to me. We know that they're not drawing cards. We sent them too much junk. They're not drawing anything. So they are stuck at 8 cards. That's a massive 8 cards. So how do we win here? We don't have initiative, which is great. The Hawk is massive. Do we do that? Can we ever win in mid with something like a Demon? And then do 2 Demons to the right. A Killmonger here we don't have to worry about because we don't have initiative. This is 6, 12, 18, about 21 power in the right lane. A decent amount in mid. And then just an absurdly large amount of power in this left lane. They do have a Demon to play. I'm wondering if maybe we do Hawk to the right instead. Or maybe even Hawk in mid. And then a Demon in the left lane gives us an extra 6, 7, 8 here. We're going to lock this in. We're not going to rearrange. We're going to trust our gut on this one. The Demon comes down in the left lane. That's fine. We overpower that with the Wasp is big in mid from the double Patriot bonus. We're going to have the left lane. It comes down to what they get in the right lane. They play their Sentinels in the right lane. Is our double Demon in that right lane enough? So the Hawk, huge. We didn't have any worry about that one. We lose mid, but our double Demon's going to come down. Because of all of these Sentinels and just that disruption, it was going to be a little bit too hard for them to be able to pull the cards that they needed. And so we will absolutely take the 2 cubes where we can. Let's go ahead and jump over into one more. All right, next up we have Rooney. The first location is the Rickety Bridge. Not great for us. We are going to be able to set our Mysterio to 3 each, our Hawk to 3. Master Mold will get a small bump. And then we're going to start disrupting their hand. The Iron Fist is not great for them, or if it's, depending on what kind of, if it's a Vulture now. They Vulture, they move it here, they get a copy in their hand. It's pretty decent. You can also Master Mold them and just give them an army of Sentinels. That may not be the optimal play, but that is most definitely the fun play. Wait, Rooney's a bot. Oh no, this is such a fun play line that it's so unfortunate that Rooney's a bot. Because they're going to let us destroy their multiple man in the left lane. They now have a copy of him, so they can just do all kinds of crazy stuff on the board. Sakar's going to pull into... Oh, wait, it's not a bot. Rooney's not a bot. Okay, they reacted. There's no way that a non-bot... Okay, that works. Okay, so how do we play from here? We can do Hood. We can do Master Mold again. And then pull it back up. Yeah, we're going to do Master Mold one more time. I guess because of the cloning vats, we're not going to send them any Sentinels, unfortunately. And then we pull Beast in Sakar by ourselves. They pull Vulture, so they can move it over. They also have an additional cloak to be able to use. How do we want to play? A move deck never runs. A move deck never runs a Shang-Chi. Kraken Knoll may beg to differ, but that's what we're going with. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. Playing the Hawk a couple of times, and if they have their hand size complete, if they have their hand completely capped in most turns, will give us a decent amount of value. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was spam clicking that. Let's do the hawk. We're gonna move our hawk. We're gonna do a hawk in mid. We're gonna do a master mold into the right lane to try to make sure that they are completely filled in that location. We'll be able to do a hawk, a demon, and a demon on the last turn as well. Let's see if you got it, Rooney. They probably move their vulture. They clear out this lane some, but the multiple man's not great for them, especially at 3 power. It just starts clogging the board a bit too much without offering a lot. So it's like a sentinel that just multiplies. A Heimdall shift to the left also feels kind of rough. The Craven does come down, which is a good use of the Craven. They also sentinel in the left lane to pad that one and protect it, to make sure that we have to play something over there on the last turn of the game. So we get Master Mold. We send them one more sentinel, so they're not going to be able to draw here. Let's do the hawk. Let's do the demon, and then we'll do a demon in the left lane. Now an arrow here. Bravo if you arrow here. Could destroy us. Maybe even a Magneto, if this is not the all-in move version, but run more so the shmoove that runs Magneto and some of those counter movement cards, which everything I've seen indicates that it's an all-in move. Magneto would be devastating in the Rickety Bridge. Okay, it's Forge. Thank goodness. Okay, so the Hulkbuster comes down. I don't think that is enough though, because we have the third hawk. We do have the left lane protected with our demon. We would have rather kept that 6 power, but it helps us clear and make sure that we don't lose the Rickety Bridge for free. We lose the right lane by 1, we win mid by 5, and we are able to get we're able to get the win versus the move deck. We don't know for sure if the sentinels that we were sending them clogged their hand enough where they weren't able to get those key resources or those key power factors. But we have to consider that it did play a role in them not being able to draw the things that they needed. And so overall, I think the list runs really, really well. I've enjoyed Master Mold. I think he's an easy slot into a lot of positions. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.